We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New Year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Where's to know and where's to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. So who else is shocked? Or not really shocked, but thoroughly entertained by the Audible book by Miss Tina Knowles, matriarch. I know I am. And I'm visibly entertained and visibly pleased because this is just another way that my Audible credits are being put to positive use. I'm also saving up my credits to anything that Pope Leo actually is getting ready to spill the tea, I hope, on the Catholic Church, because this is the kind of tea I'm interested in. Any other tea, maybe not so much, but I'm going to ride this story of massive tea because now I get why Kelly, why Beyonce, why Solange are who they are, because their mother had a history of tea. They have a family history of tea going back to the sugar plantation, and why I'm getting ready to do a petty ass take on the burning down of another sugar plantation, because I get it, girl. But anyways, now I'm on like chapter 11. This is between chapter 10 and chapter 11 because Miss Tina said to herself she bolted to a life, and what a life that was. Her outsized personality was always going to overwhelm wherever she was. She went from Weeks Island. Her family then fled to Galveston, then to Houston, and then she ended up with one of her brother's exes in San Diego the first time she went to California. She needed to stay away from and run away from Texas. And she always ended up somewhere near the water because it was so refreshing to her. You do realize that, right? Um, and then, but the water was just different. It just became cleaner the further away from Texas she got, because she actually commented on this because of the pollution from the oil spills and the turbulence from that. It basically, when the surf would churn up, the waters in Galveston and then Houston would just get more cloudy. And it would make sense. The same thing with Weeks Island at that salt mine that her family actually escaped from. And then she basically was running away from her mother's Catholic guilt. And look, check this out. It didn't strike me until today, because I vaguely remember. I was like, wasn't Agnes, which is her mother's name, wasn't she a saint in the Catholic Church? Yes. I don't know where I remember this from, but these are little tidbits I keep in my mind. I don't know why I remember this ish, but yes, I remember there was a Saint Agnes. Agnes of Rome was martyred at the age of 12 or 13 by Diocletian. Basically, she is the patron saint of young girls, of chastity, and of rape victims. She basically dedicated her life as a teenager, preteen, to Jesus. She says, he's my suitor. All of y'all hoes, y'all can kick rocks. But one of the governor's sons, Proclip, Procop, he was like, got mad and was play hating her. He's like, you mean you can't come to me? I'm the best, the top of the race. I know you diss all these other mans, but you can't get with me. I am the top of the range. You should come with me. She was like, no. One, she was 12. You are a pedophile, Procop. Two, she basically recognized it was safer to be married to Jesus than to get married to some Roman and have a life of dying in childbirth or being derided because you are barren because your husband gave you some venereal disease. Girl, bye. She was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to be married to Jesus. Screw that. And then she said, yeah, I'm staying married and dedicated to Jesus. Never marrying you. Okay, so you gonna basically talk trash and spread rumors? Bet. Cool. I'm still gonna marry Jesus. Still married Jesus. Okay, so now y'all gonna put me in chains and then y'all gonna try to feed me to the lions? Cool. I would rather die than be married to your disease-riddled ass. Okay, bet. So she ended up dying in chains because she refused to get married at 12, 13, you freaking pedophiles. And then she became the patron saint of teenage girls. Yeah, that's who Miss Tina's mom is named after. Yeah, she was good with that Catholic guilt. And that's why the lady went to mass every single day. Outside of the fact that she was divorced and they wouldn't even have recognized her. She couldn't even take communion. But she still was praying for her and her children's soul. That guilt permeated everything that she did in her life and why she was so afraid. Also, something happened to Agnes. We don't know what it is in chapter 11, but there was a tremendous level of loss from her first marriage to the marriage of Miss Tina's father, last name Beyonce. Something traumatically happened, and her own son almost was beaten to death and profiled for most of the lifetime of being when they did make it to Galveston. Yeah, we get all of that, but something dramatically happened to her that heightened her level of anxiety and why she feared so much about herself, her children, and definitely the outsized personality of Tina Knowles. I don't think she could understand who Miss Tina became and who her great grandchildren were supposed to become. I don't think she would have ever been able to survive that. And I'm also wondering, I don't know at the time of this recording if her mother, Agnes, survived long enough to witness the birth of Beyonce, and would she ever witness the greatness of her as a child, and who was she if she were to become, because that would have been dope. She was very protective of Tina, Beyonce, but I don't know if she could have handled what would become, who Beyonce knows would come to the world and to someone like me. And who Miss Tina is to someone like me. I'm listening to what has become her life, and I'm just blown away. What I did really know is the missed opportunity if her cousin Johnny would also have followed her out to California. But he was doing well being the manager of hotels back in Galveston. But he was trapped because even though his mother allowed him to be who he was, how much further could he have come if he had shaken off the shackles of expectations that was the family? They protected him, they shielded him, but at the same time, he became comfortable in the littleness of the life that he was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Wow. That, when you think about it that way, that just kind of blows me away. How, even in spite of the loneliness, she still carved out an existence that no one in Galveston or Weeks Island or Houston could have ever thought. Living with her brother's ex in LA, first in San Diego, then LA, and then when that ex went back to Houston or Texas, she was like, no, that's not my life. And then she followed someone else and to the Black Beverly Hills and met Roxy and Little Lenny Kravitz. And then she brought up that she was one of the salesperson for Shiseido Cosmetics, which was the, and at the same time, Fashion Fair was a thing back in the early 70s. Shiseido Cosmetics, for y'all that don't know, is a line of cosmetics by that was big for in Japanese or people of color way back in the day. I knew this. I was 8 years old when I found this out. And then Fashion Fair was a thing even in the early 70s. Basically, at that time in LA, Tina Turner, her and Ike had a house on a hill. She basically would come down and buy her cosmetic at the Fashion Fair Shiseido counter at the height of her fame when she was getting her ass kicked by Ike Turner. She understood code switching and definitely not only exemplified by her roommate Linda, but also by Tina Turner. As again, I'm only in chapter 11. They didn't mention that at the time when Tina Turner was actually coming down there, she was in her early 20s, 30s. I don't know if she was covering up bruises or what she saw. All I know, Miss Tina saw her as beautiful, talented woman, black people doing something, and she had a house on the hill. And her comments on it, the realism in her existence was dope. And I can't wait to listen to more of this book. Y'all need to check out Matriarch by Miss Tina Knowles. It's a read. And it's such an aside from if y'all are a Beyonce fan, because this makes me think this is why she is such a superstar, because her mama was that girl back in the day. So now her daughters can become superstars. Y'all need to check this book out, for real, for real. It's available wherever, on Audible or wherever you listen to books on tape. But at the same time, if you want to get your hands on the actual hard copy of the book, you can navigate to Far From Beale Street, my online bookstore. And thank you for subscribing and listening. That's dope too.
The Nottoway plantation in White Castle has been declared a total loss after a massive fire yesterday afternoon. Officials are now working to clear the remains of the historic site. Jordan Ponzio joins us live in Naperville Parish as that cleanup continues.
Brittany, it's now been over 24 hours since that fire started, and the fire marshal's office is here currently investigating the cause of that fire that completely destroyed the Nottoway plantation mansion. That fire started a little after 2 p.m. yesterday in the south wing of the mansion. 10 different fire departments responded to the fire. After the first couple of hours, it seemed that it was contained until high winds caused it to re-spark. I was out here this morning through around 1 o'clock, and the White Castle Fire Department were still dousing the structure with water as hot spots kept arising. I spoke with the parish president, Chris Daigle, today, who said the 166-year-old plantation did not stand a chance against this blaze.
Okay, girl. Y'all want me to give one rat's ass about this several hundred-year-old plantation that subjected my people in its heyday to some of the most terrible conditions on the planet, where the average lifespan of an African-American female, male, or other was 7 years. Y'all refurbish that bitch to have weddings, to celebrate new beginnings where my people's endings were. But at the same time, bitch, y'all want to erase my people's, African Americans, contribution to anything in this country. Y'all categorically are making people not mention black, not mention slavery, removing the first qualified, overqualified black brother from the White House because you little hand, little dick motherfuckers can't stand what y'all really tout as democracy. He being the epitome of democracy. Y'all want to erase all of that. But y'all want me to give one rat's ass about some plantation my people built in Louisiana, but y'all don't want to give recognition and acknowledgement to how y'all used us, abused us, slavery, 400 years of subjugation. And y'all want us to forget all of that and give a rat's ass about some antebellum plantation where y'all were playing as kings and queens in America because y'all got kicked out of England? Fuck y'all. Fuck your white privilege. And that's why none of us care about this shit. That's why we line dancing while that bitch is burning. Our people built it. It's burning down and we don't give a fuck. And y'all, we also know, number one, if it was actually insured by Nationwide State Farm, they ain't paying for shit. We knew what they did out at Altadena. They ain't paying for shit. And Y'all already kicked all of Marcos, all the ones, everybody that could rebuild that shit. They already been kicked out the country. I know my black ass and the rest of my black ass family members, anybody that could rebuild that shit, we've been freed since 1865. Fuck you and your antebellum plantation. We good over here. And y'all wonder why we still fan dancing and fanning the flames as that bitch burned down. Okay. That's all I got to say about that. Y'all kick rocks. We don't give a fuck. Yes, my people built 153 souls perish on that bitch. Probably more people of my people, cousin and them, continue to work on that bitch after the freedom came, up until this day. But should we give a fuck that bitch burned down and everything that it represents? Nah, we're good. We good over here. Burn, baby, burn. We don't give a fuck about Nottoway or any other representation of that. We know what it means. You could try to erase it. You could try to write any other amendment or presidential thing and just remove it like it didn't happen. But just because you want to pretend it didn't happen, don't make it so. And that's why when y'all realize the BS is happening right now in DC and every red state in this country and every blue state, Pennsylvania, we haven't forget y'all BS. Michigan, no, even with Big Gretch, we still haven't forgotten your BS. You want to do this on your own and you realize why we're basically sitting this out. We watching the shit burn down because we know when the shit actually hits the fan, who gonna have to rebuild it. We just basically taking our time because we know when the shit goes down and we really need to rebuild this shit, we know we can make a way out of no way. Because that's all we've been doing since the beginning of time. We were there. The dude from Cyrene, we've been there since the beginning of time. We good. And we gonna watch y'all basically flounder and just be all crazy because y'all don't understand. We already been there. We've seen the worst. And then you wonder why we don't get upset and bent out of shape for just hiccups. Because that's what this is. These are basically major hiccups. But at the same time, we know any hiccup, we got the Alka-Seltzer for, bitch. We good. And we just waiting when we are good and ready to act. We can act because that's how our people are. Since the beginning of the time, bitch. So go have a seat and stop asking me, where are y'all? Why don't you care? We've seen this shit before. We know it's going to be fucked up once we get involved, but we are ready for the game. We just basically biding our time and counting our coins, gathering all of our strength before we act, because that is how, actually, we kind of petty as hell. But we also want to see just how bad it's going to be, because we already know no matter how bad it's going to be, we can fix this shit. And that's what y'all don't understand. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. Hallelujah, hallelujah. If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. My apologies to Henry Mancini, but a riff on the Pink Panther theme is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? It's been called the case of the year, right up there with OJ. And by the by, y'all, this is for our white brethren. Most black folks think OJ did it, or he knew who did it. There is nothing outside of what we saw with Rodney King, because we saw the video of that. We also saw the video of Tyree Nichols here in Tennessee get murdered by all those black cops. And they got off because it was moved. And I'll probably report on that because I haven't been able to process that, and I really haven't cared, because that's a miscarriage of justice. How all those black cops get acquitted by all white jury. Why did y'all move it? Y'all mean to tell me that us in Memphis, there was nobody in Memphis or in that county that could not have been representative on that jury to be able to fairly represent them fools? So what basically you're saying, that white folks are the only ones that can give you justice, and you're not even safe among your own in your own neighborhood? Okay, girl, whatever. But what I'm here to talk about is what has got all of us in a chokehold, this Diddy trial. How do you go from Teflon Don to inmate 37452-054? How you can look a rape victim, a domestic abuse victim in the face and try to create a whole separate narrative to create doubt, when we all, unfortunately, were included on the group text. We saw the video that had been buried for 10 years of Cassie Ventura getting her ass kicked. I will firmly admit, I had no idea who this girl was until she sued Diddy on from some civil-ish. I had no, and then you hear, and even though peripherally, big nerd, I basically have been in the throes of my own career for the past 20 years. And a lot of stuff I hear peripherally. You know, I remember that just in the previous section, I talked about Agnes being a saint. How do you know that? Because all the religion classes that I took, I'm probably certain things that I read about the Catholic Church. You hear stuff about Diddy and that life and the rumors and a lot of things and stuff that you forget. Vaguely knew about, what's her name? Jennifer Lopez, and how she dated him. Did not know until this trial about the allegations about Kim Porter actually dated Al B. Shore. I thought Al B. was dead for a minute, but Kim Porter had a son that she helped raise, and then she died of pneumonia. Maybe she died because maybe this lady died because of aspiration. I don't know. I don't know if the timeline just looks sketch. Basically, the time that Diddy was dating and abusing Cassie was also at the same time that he was dating Kim Porter. Kim Porter was having kids by him. Also, Diddy was having extracurricular babies. He has a third daughter that I didn't know of till this trial. and how she must have taken all of the rape and the depravity of that situation. That's what Cassie's job was. Now, she finally got out of it kinda in 2018 when they broke up. Not too long after they broke up, Kim Porter died of complications of pneumonia. Okay. Now, Cassie was still shacking one more time with Diddy, according to the reports and testimony in this trial, as soon as 2018. But she with the white boy now, who she now is the mother of 3 children. Now we know between cold sores, that means this girl probably contracted HSV. She's currently on her 3rd pregnancy on Suboxone because she is a recovering opiate addict and on her 3rd kid. But she showed up. She could have kept her name out of everybody's mouth, but she showed up unanonymously to testify against this fool at 8.5 months pregnant. To the depravity, to the starvation, to the beatings, to the sexual exploitation, all of that. While his security, while his admin staff, everybody looked on. He evidently dragged and beat her in a meeting with executives at Bad Boy Records. This is who we have danced to and did the bankhead bounce to all of these years, all complicit in this shit. And it also shows, I'm not really going to talk about the play-by-play because I think Demetria L. Lucas and her shrill tones, as well as Carlos King and being a raindrop, but he has not Thirsty Thursdays, True Crime Thursdays with Ebony K. Williams, who is a former housewife and who also has encouraged me and with the next section about my comparison, why Roni has been put on pause and the old school cast, and why this reboot was never going to work. I'm going to stick to the technical aspects of it because I'm not going to do a play-by-play of the more salacious tidbits. You can go to Demetria and Carlos for that. But it also just speaks to what the psychology of all of those is. All of the burden of proof and the psychology of the depravity and coerciveness and the collusion. Cassie's story is just bit by bit just tragic. And she would risk the negative impact on this psychological warfare on her fetus because this is what she has to prevent. This Teflon fool went from that to billionaire to inmate because he could not control his own depravity. His mama couldn't help it. Everybody else that he basically had full control of this girl for 10 years. He had a type. They all looked alike. Even the Ebony K. Williams could have got it because he definitely looked like the type that he would have risked it all for and did. Literally, this girl was a jump off, kidnapped, and etc. And the defense, all they belied is their meandering tactics to try to run out the clock because the judge already said this lady is 8.5 months pregnant. So y'all gonna have to wrap this up. So all it looked like is she was unprepared. And he would use his own kids to make himself look good. He had 3 teenage daughters by 2 different women, the late Kim Porter, who I also think he abused up until, and maybe that's why it increased why she passed away. There's a question mark on that. But at the same time, all of his daughters are relatively the same age. They all teenagers. They left to go to the prom, but they basically heard that the depravity of their daddy was such that they are beautiful, I'm sure beautiful young women who would be subject to men with money like their dad, and they would have no agency over their sexuality, their bodies, or anything, because bitch had a type. His sons and his mama being there because nobody else from the industry stepped up. Why would they? Sean took the fall for this fool and got deported. Served time and then get deported. He basically had to get kicked out the country to become the prime minister of his original country. But fooling with Diddy is why his career had to take a left. Sons could have been there, but there's allegations that they probably participated in the depravity. So this is all they know. Christian and them. Glad that got cut off and I get to basically retape or re-record what I was talking about. We talking about over 3 decades of depravity, sociopathy that we are being plagued with. That's why I don't need to do a play-by-play. This is being played out in popular culture now. I get why everybody's calling it the trial of the year. We got 7 more weeks of this nonsense. And it's just the beginning. And do I think that Chump or may free him? Yes. Because he does the opposite things, opposite day. Even though he basically put out a hit on the Central Park 5, even though they were proven to be innocent, even though most of us know that Diddy did this shit, he would do all this negative shit because he doesn't care about African Americans. He just wants to do the opposite to keep us pissed off. So do I think he would pardon Diddy? Most definitely. He did it with Tunchi. I think he'd do the same crap. Even though from a criminal standpoint and not on some fraud, I didn't pay my taxes, but I actually raped a whole bunch of people. I actually truly did RICO. The same shit that you got hemmed up on, 32 counts, motherfucker, but you still the president of the United States. Yes, I think he would. Just piss people off. The epitome of the poster child for fraud and for criminality, yes, I think he would definitely free Diddy. And yes, the color of Diddy's skin has a lot to do, probably more so, a lot to do with the allegations. But the allegations are not far from the truth. Diddy shenanigans, as I said, does stretch back 3 decades. However, a lot of this stuff has been talked and rumored and squashed, but a lot of this shit is true. And yes, he need to be, and what most people know, he did it, he need to be up underneath the jail. But can he probably get away with it with the $300 million that he actually got? Yes, I firmly believe that too. But he won't get it from the industry because the industry know he's trash. A lot of them have benefited from his shenanigans. Nobody is stepping up to say, he may and may not have done this. No, Nobody is coming forth. Everybody has been granted immunity, and that's the only reason why they testified against him. But nobody is stepping up and testifying for him because they know he did this shit. So there you go. For a messy bunch, the shady bunch, the shady bunch. I hope fraternal checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. One thing I have learned from Real Housewives of Atlanta is you really can't count other people's coins. And I say that over and over again because once you start counting other people's coins, it's always going to be off and you're going to be always looking crazy. That'll come up when I basically do a breakdown of the latest on Real Housewives of New York not coming back and being on pause, and Real Housewives of New Jersey being on pause. But let's talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta. Kenya Moore, being the Mormon that she is, has put many people out of an event. And Portia Williams has always said that she is the queen of Thoughtlandia, and then she gets upset because she keep doing whole shit and don't know why people keep calling her out on it. I didn't ever say that. That's some Claudia Jordan stuff, and I'm here for it, but I digress. And now the latest episode is, and we see Portia yawning. We have been aware of Shamia and Portia's relationship basically since season 6, 7, but their relationship go back to when they were kids. The only difference is Shamia has continued to grow up and Portia didn't. We've seen Portia dish Shamia before, and this came up in this season 16 episode. Back in season 9, when Portia decided to hitch her wagon to the Phaedra fraud wagon and lie on Candy, we saw Portia diss her. And why are y'all all of that concern? And they were fanning her and making sure Portia's makeup was basically beat. Shamia was going to marry her husband then. Portia made it to the Atlanta wedding, didn't make it to the Kenya wedding because she said she couldn't stretch out or some bullshit, but it was, in reality, it was because Portia was jealous and she was beefing, one half of beefing. Didn't matter that her best friend was getting married in Kenya. That was, and y'all don't realize, that was supposed to have been Portia. And her lowly friend was getting what she was supposed to, she thought she was supposed to get. This is Portia Williams. And y'all are shocked that Portia's doing this sneak shit now with the album and the voiceover and how Shamia is still winning. Her husband gave her a $430,000 rolling, not a lease, paid for her 43rd birthday. That was supposed to have been Portia because she is the star, not the friend of. So why are y'all shocked that Portia Williams, selfish to the end, would feel some kind of way? Season 13, Ralph wanted, they came on the scene, and I only suggest this is because we get 2 more seasons of some F shit that he is on, and he wants to be a housewife just like Teresa's brother and Fuda. But I digress. And all Angela Oakley was saying is that, and this is what we already knew, Shamea went off on Marlo for commenting on her husband, and she wanted to play down Angela's response because of her deference to Portia. But Portia does not reciprocate. She's never reciprocated from what we can see on the show. And then her yawning like she's tired. So now we are all witnessing what Angela and what little Munchkin Kelly is saying. She's not the same loyal and devoted friend in spite of the difference. They've been friends, lopsided friends for over 20 years. Now we get to see the true reaction and realization when Shamea realizes what happens when you outgrow your friendship and how that friend will act once she realizes that now you are not the big dog anymore. You're not the big dog of every group that you stunt in. You got to recognize that everybody is equal, especially on this platform. You can't do F shit and be selfish because that'll get you canceled. And I think finally, maybe 265 days a year, not knowing that the Underground Railroad didn't run underground, Portia Williams is finally understanding. And we also, when it's also I just want to basically bring this up. It is hard to root for Drew Sidora because you still have an alternate relationship with the truth. And if you're not going to tell it all because it makes you look bad, they're going to need to sit your ass down. And also, who else is not shocked that Shannon Bedore finally got on Jizzy's nerve on episode 4 of that hotel show? I knew she was going to storm off drunk one time and Jizzy was going to be all over it and she was going to be fed up with the shenanigans. I'm lucky. I'm happy. It took maybe 2 or 3 episodes and it was a wrap for Jizzy. But I digress. So I have heard about the not continuation of Real Housewives of New Jersey, as well as Real Housewives of New York for a minute now. And I believe this part is going to be a 2-part section because I really was not into either of those franchises more so than the last couple of days. I had known after watching this past season's rebooted Real Housewives of New York that I kind of felt it wasn't coming back because the whole season was very tragic. And then watching the non-reunion of Real Housewives of New Jersey, it just went off the rails. I was really engaged at the, what's her name? The black girl that didn't know she was black and she swore up and down she was Irish. I think her mother really was sneaking around with the milkman and it came her. And then she said her father, who I think was passing, Dolores. Yes, Dolores. Stop playing in our face. You know your ass ain't white. You are black and stop playing. Stop playing. For real, for real. Stop playing. I need to see the 23andMe because I already know and clocked your tea on blackness. But so now they're not coming back. They're on pause. And now it's like finally Bravo has realized that a whole rebooted Roni was not the way. Here's why. You know, there is something to be said about Ebony K. Williams. See, I didn't even know who she was until she got on Real Housewives. I'm sorry. The King, Carlos King, and this True Lives or True Crime Thursdays. Carlos King, formerly executive producer of Real Housewives of New Jersey, he produced season 1 and 2. He was a field producer for Teresa Giudice. He was there for the tape flip and everything. First 9 season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. He says he loves all the girls. He's gone on with Kingdom Reign and whatever is going on in Huntsville, Love and Marriage series. Stuff has come out. Nothing's been corroborated, so I'm not even going to comment on that. But Ebony K. Williams, entrepreneur, new mother, and if she was crazy, she looked like light-skinned, skinny-ass, white, light-skinned girl, black girl. Formerly, the first black Real Housewives of New York. And she said the 2 seasons that she was actually on that franchise was hell. I get it, because being accomplished as an African-American female is different than these white women. Because when you look at the pedigree of these women, only Bethany Frankel, self-made NYU grad, and Dorinda. Ramona Singer went to FIT and she became a buyer at Macy's, but none of these women are as accomplished as Ebony. And it means so much. Oh, they all have mugshots. And that is what kills me. How the only thing when it's all said and done that these white women has as their major accomplishment that think they're above it all is their whiteness. And that's why the reboot went south. If they had did a soft reboot like they did with Real Housewives of Atlanta, instead of replacing everybody, and they had worked more people in that had more in common, and if they would allow them to organically build relationships or build upon the relationship that they actually had, it would have made more sense. But Ebony K. Williams was, even though big time lawyer, commentator in her field, she still did not fit with this group of privileged white women who may have actually helped her in this would have been if Bethany Frankel didn't give them the double middle finger and left the show, because that was season 12. I think being with these delusional, out of touch women was too much for her. If they had the truth sayer of Bethany being a part of this ish with Leah McSweeney, because even though she was a recovering addict, it would have made sense to basically have somebody that with some emotional intelligence that actually did not have a mugshot, that actually was a defense attorney. That is what would have made sense to me. And they unleashed her with lack of self-awareness, Ramona Singer, delusional Sonia, who also was, I think she's a dope fiend too. I'm not saying I think she's a drunk, and also she was bipolar, not on appropriate meds. Luann. Tinsley Mortimer. She may have had a story to tell, was franchise goal, but she had nothing going on. She was a princess without a kingdom. And that Barbara Cavawit girl, looky here. I'm tired of all of y'all. I get why Giselle left. Giselle got played by that white girl. What's her name? Her squinchy face self. I don't even really realize, because she would show up for someone that would never show up for her. She hitched her wagon of alliance and of convenience and was tossed aside like a used Kleenex. And even though with all of their issues, they really should have did a softer reboot. And what I'm going to talk about more of next week is who of all of these women, who should have stayed. They should not have even thought of a separate legacy reboot to capitulate to the grandiosity of the crazy women of the legacy, the OGs. It appears that America got tired of watching these skinny, drunk-ass white women not eat anything and just act out and act crazy. They really needed to be held accountable. Not all of them should come back as full-time housewives, but they could have come back in some capacity of the friend of, or not at all. And in all honesty, only about 3 of these women, if they were so to choose, should come back as OGs, because I think some of the newer castmates, if they had done the casting with the OGs and did some testing, they were the only ones that could have made the newer castmates, and it would have made it make sense to feel safe to be able to sell their truth, and we would not have had Jenna Lyons not having her partner participate at all, or she wouldn't have been cast, because if you don't want to tell that truth, what is your purpose? Also, I need to look up the name of the new Puerto Rican lesbian cast of Roni. It would have made Raquel Chevron. If she, because Jenna Lyons would not have wanted to share her partner, Raquel Chevron, also accomplished artisan. That would have made more sense, having her on, being ushered in and feeling safe. Also, I honestly think because all of them are fashion whores, that would have made sense how what's her name? The Jewish Scientologist. Rebecca Minkoff, she probably would have felt more comfortable sharing her truth and just wouldn't have been on the show for a soundbite for her business. Yeah, that would have made sense. Also, but maybe Jenna Lyons would have actually felt more comfortable and protected if she had the Rebecca, not just all those, and had Bryn hitting on her, because she would have had her partner there. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But I would, on next week's part of the podcast, I'm going to get into, I can understand why a legacy spinoff of Roni doesn't make sense, because having some of these OGs finally clock in, only those that are willing to clock in every single episode because y'all paying them, Bravo. And that could have ushered in and steered these women. And if you don't feel like you need to do that, and you can come back as a friend of until you can prove that you are not above or better than the show, then that's when you actually get to be an apple holder. Talk to them in Atlanta about this. Talk to them in Potomac about this. If also Salt Lake, you don't clock in, you don't get a check. Other than that, keep it pushing and have a seat. But a whole reboot did not go well. I think they did. I think they attempted to do their due diligence, and because it seems like all of the new cast members of New Jersey actually had some type of tenuous connection with each other, but then they started drinking the Kool-Aid and they began to think that they were going to self-produce and either become a meme or not do what they can do to become a meme. Because all of these women, and Ebony made a very good point, when it comes down to, all they had to fall back on was their white privilege. But in a lot of respects, they also had awareness and accomplishment in their own right. All of them are what you would consider quintessential housewives, especially the Dorindas of them all, and what's the skinny girl's name? Oh, what is her name? She's an ultimate skinny girl. I'm tired of her eating cereal. Bethany Frankel of it all. But at least they have the emotional IQ, or they've done the work where they can actually know of their lack of awareness. And they could actually become friends and actually usher in the new castmates as they establish themselves. Because these women have been in the game for many years. Now all of them are middle-aged in their 50s, some in their 60s. It would have been interesting to see Dorinda and homegirl Bethany talk to these other girls. You think you got issues? Hold on. Hold my beer. Let me tell you, girl. Or how Ebony K and Eric Litchie can actually talk about new children and husbands making some crackhead decisions about cryptocurrency. Can you imagine selling cryptocurrency when it's on a downslope instead of adding to it? So now it would have been worth a fat grip. Girl, I would have been pissed off. That would have made more sense. And I believe Ebony would have been able to relate that with this new crew instead of this old, unaware, detached crew, delusional crew. And when you basically can see your alliance blow up in your face, because that also what I believe happened to Ebony K and this white girl, drunk ass or sober Leah McSweeney. I'm just saying it would have made more sense. Not just dumping in some black girl completely accomplished, and when accomplished means different and hits differently with the African American. To this privileged crew, there was no way she was ever going to be successful with this crew. Now she actually still doing political commentary and legal commentary, and none of these women are, besides Phaedra, phony F.A.A.F.O, none of these women could measure up to her statue. And it's just sad. This is like a lot of wasted talent. And Roni is a jewel upon itself. Yeah, we were over the skinny white girl, rich white girl, New York, because it all like they were starting to sip the Kool-Aid and show us how detached and uninformed they all are. And it's not funny because it got old and the ratings reflected that. And that's why Bravo told all of them to sit down. And then they brought this other crew that could have worked if some of the newer crew also came in as friends of, or until they could prove themselves as necessary and could handle being a full-time Apple holder. Those are just my thoughts on the crackheadness of the entire reboot of Roni. Just in time, because they getting ready to go to BravoCon in Las Vegas. So we gonna see what's gonna come of that, because we know that Real Housewives of Dubai is not coming back, although I would want to see Ayan. And a lot of us are kind of getting sick of Portia Williams' Mean Girl act, and also the lapdog act of Shamia. Shamia came in hot, and now it's starting to fall flat. But I think she's going to get her shine back this upcoming episode, hopefully this week. We'll see. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happier you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?